A remarkable discovery in Jerusalem has led researchers to uncover a burial slab where the body of Jesus may have been laid after his crucifixion. For the first time in centuries, researchers have revealed what is believed to be Jesus' tomb inside the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. According to biblical narratives, Jesus Christ died more than 2,000 years ago. Recently, scientists became curious and decided to investigate the tomb of Jesus. Surprisingly, they found the tomb, and what was discovered inside could shock the world. This groundbreaking find has the potential to change the course of history. Join us as we explore the relics found within Jesus' tomb. Chapter 1: Jesus' Tomb. Jesus Christ remains one of the most significant figures in Christianity. Without his life, death, and resurrection, the foundation of Christianity would be non-existent. Although much of what is known about him comes from the scriptures, archaeologists have sought to locate his tomb. According to the Bible, Jesus Christ was buried in a tomb hewn from rock shortly after his crucifixion. Astonishing his followers, he rose from the tomb 3 days later. While there is no questioning his existence, the location of his tomb remains a mystery. This puzzle has intrigued biblical scholars and historians for centuries. Could it be the Talpiot tomb in Jerusalem, the Garden tomb, or even a burial plot in distant places such as Japan or India? To this day, most believe that the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem's Old City is the likely site of Jesus' tomb. In 2016, the tomb was unsealed for the first time in centuries. The belief that Jesus' tomb is located in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre dates back to the 4th century when Emperor Constantine, a recent convert to Christianity, ordered his representatives to locate the tomb. Arriving in Jerusalem in 325 AD, Constantine's men were directed to a 200-year-old Roman temple built by Hadrian. Beneath it, they uncovered a tomb made from a limestone cave, including a burial bed that fit the Bible's description of Jesus' tomb, convincing them they had found his burial site. While the church has been widely recognized as the site of Jesus' tomb, it is impossible to definitively state that he was buried there. Early Christians faced persecution and were forced to flee Jerusalem, which may have prevented them from preserving his grave. Further complicating matters, other potential tombs have emerged over the years. For instance, some consider the Garden tomb in Jerusalem a viable candidate, while others believe the Talpiot tomb in the Old City might be Jesus' burial place. Both are cut from rock, like the tomb in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, yet scholars argue that these alternatives lack the historical weight of the church. The Talpiot tomb, discovered in 1980 in East Jerusalem, contained 10 ossuaries, 6 of which bore inscriptions. One of these inscriptions was interpreted as Yeshua bar Yosef, Jesus, son of Joseph. However, the partially illegible inscription and its interpretation remain disputed. Scholars generally believe that this Jesus was not Jesus of Nazareth but someone with a similar name, possibly a wealthy Judean, as suggested by the tomb's elaborate design. Similarly, the Garden tomb, unearthed in 1867, has also been proposed as a potential site. However, Israeli archaeologist Gabriel Barkay has dated the tomb to the 8th or 7th centuries BCE, far earlier than Jesus' time. Despite these debates, archaeological and early literary evidence strongly suggests that Jesus' tomb is located in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Over the centuries, the church has faced numerous challenges, including being sacked by Persians in the 7th century, destroyed by Muslims in the 11th century, and burned to the ground in the 19th century. Yet, Christians have continually rebuilt it, reinforcing its importance as the most likely site of Jesus' tomb. The tomb was sealed with marble cladding around 1555 to prevent visitors from taking pieces of the stone. However, in 2016, specialists from the National Technical University of Athens unsealed the tomb for the first time in centuries. This restoration project, costing $3 million, involved repairing the structure and carefully opening the tomb to prevent leaks. Inside, researchers found a limestone cave and gathered samples while reinforcing its walls. For 60 hours, the tomb of Jesus was open, allowing scientists, clergy, and workers to glimpse its contents. Peter Baker, a writer for the New York Times, described the tomb as plain and unadorned, illuminated by flickering candles during his visit. The Bible's account in John 26:7 describes strips of linen and a cloth wrapping Jesus' head lying inside the tomb. This leads to the intriguing question of the current whereabouts of these linens, transitioning the focus to the Shroud of Turin, a relic steeped in mystery and debate. Chapter 2. The Shroud of Turin. The Shroud of Turin, a controversial religious relic, has sparked intense debate, even within the Catholic Church. Carbon dating tests have indicated that the shroud originated between 800 and 1000 years after Christ, suggesting it could be a medieval forgery. However, inconsistencies in the testing process and subsequent discoveries have cast doubt on this conclusion. The shroud, measuring 4.3 meters in length and 1.1 meters in width, bears a faint image of a man with sunken eyes and wounds consistent with crucifixion. Interestingly, the shroud's bloodstains have been identified as type AB, a blood type more common among Jews. Additionally, dirt on the shroud matches the limestone found in Jerusalem, and pollen samples from the fabric link it to Palestine. These findings have reinforced connections to Jesus' burial. Scientists continue to study the shroud, uncovering intriguing details that align with biblical narratives. This discovery, coupled with the findings from Jesus' tomb, continues to inspire and challenge historians, scientists, and theologians alike, deepening our understanding of ancient history and faith scattered across the cloth. Her investigation shows that the word bears Jesus of Nazareth's Greek name. She argues that no Christian, not even a forger, would have addressed Jesus without acknowledging his divinity during that period, as doing otherwise could result in being labeled a heretic. This conclusion rules out the text's medieval origin. Additionally, she extracted the words from larger pictures of the shroud and presented them to experts, who agreed that the writing style was typical of the Middle East in the 1st century when Jesus lived. However, there remains an unsolved puzzle: how did the image end up on the cloth? Was it drawn on? To answer this, several theories have been proposed. In 2002, Raymond Rogers of Los Alamos National Laboratory in New Mexico argued, based on a scientific analysis of the shroud, that a simple chemical alteration could explain the image. He proposed that even low heat, roughly 40 deg C104 def, might turn the sweet carbohydrate molecules on cotton threads brown. This temperature could momentarily occur in a corpse experiencing hypothermia or dehydration. Rogers stressed that no miracle was required, though this idea, while appealing, lacks strong evidence. Furthermore, such occurrences are uncommon on burial shrouds. Another theory suggests that the fiber's coloration was caused by a chemical reaction with something the body emitted. Early in the 20th century, French researcher Paul Vignon proposed that this substance might have been ammonia created when urea in perspiration decomposes. However, this explanation falls short because the final image would be blurry. Biophysicist John DeSalvo offered another theory in 1982, suggesting that the substance could be lactic acid from sweat, reacting with paper fibers. This reaction could create long-lasting dark negative images resembling leaf imprints found between book pages. Among these, one explanation stands out. Researcher John Jackson claimed that vacuum UV light is the most plausible explanation for the shroud's image formation. For linen to become a suitably photosensitized material, light radiation without concurrent heat radiation must be present. The shroud's image would require an astounding several billion watts of light radiation, far beyond our current understanding of UV radiation sources. If heat energy accompanied such an operation, the cloth would have melted in less than 140 billionths of a second. The power required exceeds the total electrical energy produced globally, suggesting that only a divine miracle could account for such an occurrence. Millions of devout Christians see the Shroud of Turin as an unparalleled depiction of Jesus' suffering to save humanity. Others dismiss it as a fabrication. Regardless, it remains a sacred symbol that uplifts and inspires people worldwide. The shroud's history includes remarkable events. In 1418, when the 100 Years' War threatened to spill into Liary, Geoffrey de Charny's granddaughter Margaret de Charny and her husband stored the cloth in their castle. Her husband acknowledged in writing that the shroud was not Jesus' authentic burial cloth but promised to return it when it was safe. However, Margaret later refused to return it and took it on tour, advertising it as the real burial shroud. In 1453, she sold it for 2 castles to the royal house of Savoy, which ruled parts of modern-day France, Italy, and Switzerland. For selling the shroud, she faced excommunication. In 1502, the House of Savoy placed the shroud in the Sainte-Chapelle in Chambéry, now part of France. In 1532, a fire in the chapel melted part of the silver container protecting the shroud. The molten silver burned through it, leaving marks still visible today. In 1578, the House of Savoy moved the shroud to the Cathedral of St. John the Baptist in Turin, where it has remained, except during World War II when Italy relocated it for safekeeping. In April 2020, amid the COVID-19 pandemic, Turin Archbishop Cesare Nosiglia allowed people worldwide to view the shroud online for Easter. He was moved by thousands of requests during the crisis. This initiative provided solace to many, making the shroud a global symbol of Jesus' death and resurrection, reviving hope during dark times. Through centuries, the shroud has evolved from fabric to an enduring religious symbol, touching hearts and elevating spirits worldwide.